All right, so this is DHCP configured with DHCP relay. It's a little bit more complicated. It has two networks as opposed to just one linear network. And so what we have going on here, we have two PCs over here in this subnet with this router connected to that subnet, of course, and connected to another subnet, which is connected to a router connected to another subnet, which has the DHCP server in there with two more computers. So this is a network with three subnets here that's showcasing one with a relay option to be able to reach that server, and another subnet on with the server on the local subnet. So I wanted you to get kind of both a preview of both of them. I know we talked about last time with a DHCP integrated into the router, and I showed you how to do that. Well, this time I'm going to show you how to do it with the server and with DHCP relay. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Your computers right here, you don't really have to do much, but just switch them on to DHCP. So we're not really going to do anything there. The switches right here, you don't have to do any configurations on those, but the routers, you're probably going to have to do most of the configuration with the DHCP server. So for the routers, we're just going to go ahead and pop on the first one here. I'm going to hit no, enable, config T, config T, and then no IP domain lookup, because I'm always fat fingering something and then it takes like 7 hours to go ahead and start back up. So I always put in no IP domain lookup, but we're gonna go into interface gigabit 0/0, which is the interface connected to this subnet. And so of course we're gonna go for a default gateway with this subnet. So it's gonna be IP address 192.168.0.1, 255, 0, which is a 24-bit, or I'm sorry, not a 24-bit, but a CIDR 24 notation, which is basically just Class C subnet. No shutdown. Perfect. So that side is all set up and ready to go. And then we got to get on the other side of this router, the other interface, which is interface gigabit 0/1. Yep. No shutdown. IP address 192.168, and this is the subnet address right here with a /30 notation instead of a /24. So we're gonna do 192. I'm sorry, I already got that down. 192.168, and then that's showing .1. And it says .0, but since this is /30, it kind of kicks into that. So we're only afforded two IP addresses. So we got .1 here and .2. So we're going to do .1, 255. I believe this is two. What? Let me think here. 1, 2, 3. So 252 is that right? Yeah. No shutdown. Perfect. And then we're going to go over to this router now. No. Enable. Config T. No, we still got to set up the router OSPFs, and I'll show you that here in a second. All right, so interface, or actually before we do that, no IP domain lookup. All right, and then interface gigabit 0/1. It looks like 0/1 is on this side, and so we'll do no shutdown. Notice how it turns green after it was red, and this is amber. And then IP address 192.168.3, because 3.0 is this subnet, and 3.1 is going to be this interface that we have configured here. 255, 0. Okay. Exit interface gigabit 0/0. This is going to be IP address 192.168.1.2, 255. It's not 0. It's 252. I want to say. Hold on. Yeah, I want to say that's it. No shutdown, of course. Perfect. So that's up and running. Okay, now we're going to do the router OSPF. I chose to connect these networks via OSPF just because to me that's the easiest. I learned OSPF as my main router IP routing protocol. You could statically configure these. I just like OSPF better. And if I show you OSPF, it'll allow you to make bigger networks and connect them with greater ease. So got to exit out and then router OSPF 1. All right, now that takes us within that ID. And now we do network 192.168 1.0 and then 0.0.0.3. Area 1, network 192.168, what is it, 3.0? Because we're doing this one as well as this one for this router, both of those subnets. Except this subnet, however, has a 24-bit CIDR notation, or 24 CIDR notation, not 24-bit, just 24 CIDR notation. Enter. Okay, so this router is completely configured now. All right, now we go back to this router, and we are going to do exit, and now it's just in the configuration mode, global config. Now we're going to do router OSPF, OSPF. Yeah, type that in right. All right, 1. Now it's going to put us in the OSPF configuration mode, network 192.168 1.0, which is this network. 0.0.0, that's 3, yeah. 3, area 1, network 192.168. What is that? 0? Yeah, 0. Was it 1 or was it 0? It was 0. Yeah, 0.0.0.3. Area 1. Did we do that right? Let's check it. All right, so this is what we had typed out. Network, yes, that's right. All right, exit. You'll notice right here is how we know that it linked up with the other router. It's saying, hey, process ID 1, we read that. And neighbor is 192.168 3.1, which is this router's ID. And it's coming from our gigabit 0/1. So 0/1, it's coming from there. So anything connected to 0/1 right now is going to be our OSPF neighbor. Now, if we look over here, it popped up down here. So we look at this and it's saying, hey, look, from your 0, 0 interface, not your 0, 1, but from your 0, 0, we recognize that there's an OSPF neighbor. That's how you know it's connected. You can also do a show IP route. So exit, show IP route. Ooh. Do show IP route. Unless you're in enabled mode, then you just do show IP route. So we could see that through OSPF that we have this neighbor, or this, not this neighbor, this subnet is learned through OSPF, because you'll notice it's 192.168.0.0, which is this address right here. So we learned it through OSPF, through the server. They both talk to each other and give each other advertisements, but we're not talking about that for today. All right, so the next thing we need to do is go ahead and look at our server. All right, we're going to be going ahead and configuring that. We're going to keep this on static because we're in desktop. We're basically configuring the actual server, not the addresses the server is handing out, not the pool of addresses the server is handing out. We're just configuring the server in and of itself. So the server's IP address, we've got 192.168.3.3. All right, that's going to be its IP address. And Class C subnet, which is perfectly fine. Class C subnet, which is /24 CIDR notation in this subnet. All right, default gateway is going to be the 192.168.3.1. Why is that? Because that is the route of the, or not the route, the IP address of the interface for this router on this subnet. We've also got it listed right down here for you. So all you have to do is look at that. And then we're going to put in Google's DNS server right here. All right, perfect. So the server in and of itself is set up to be on the network. Now we go to services, DHCP. Got to make sure this DHCP services is on, not off. It usually starts and off. Go ahead and flip it to on. One other thing we need to make sure before we get started is fast Ethernet 0. Yes, it is hooked up via fast Ethernet 0. Okay, so that's the option we're going to be starting on. Pool name. It says server pool. Now, just know in packet tracer, in and of itself, it will always have server pool. You can't change this name, by the way. If you change it and you make a different one, a different server pool, or not server pool, different subnet pool that it's going to pull from, it's not going to recognize it as its local pool. For whatever reason, packet tracer must have the local subnet on server pool. You can't change the name. You can change the configurations within it, but you can't change the name. Hence why I have server pool as the name. Okay. Separate that a little bit more. This is the local subnet. This is this subnet. All right. We're going to configure both of them. But remember, don't ever change this name for the local subnet. Whatever subnet you're placing your DHCP server on, this name must remain. I don't know why, and you can even see, I'll maybe make another video, or you can test it yourself. You could make multiple local network channels that hand out DHCP IP addresses, but it's only ever going to take this as the primary, and it's going to pull from this for whatever reason. I don't know why. All right, anyway, 192.168.3, okay, .1, because it's this subnet that we're configuring. So on this subnet, the default gateway is 3.1. All right, DNS server is 8.8.8.8. The starting IP address, we're going to go ahead and let's just make it 50. Let's make it 50 just for fun. Maximum users, we're going to put as 254 because it's a Class C subnet. You can only hand out 254 IP addresses. Everything else looks fine. Yeah, okay. So save. You'll notice it's changed a little down here. If you open it up a little bit more, it'll have the configuration populated. There we go. Have the configuration populated for you. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do another one. We're going to do Jeffy's pool. All right. And then instead of 3, it's going to be 0.1. Why is it 0.1? Because we're going off of this subnet. All right. And off of this subnet, the 0/0, it's got 192.168.0.1 as the default gateway for this subnet. All right. And remember, we're pulling from the 0.0 subnet, not the 3, not the 3.0 subnet, the 0.0 subnet. All right, and so we're going to keep DNS the same. We're still going to use Google's. I'm going to change this 254. For the starting, we're going to start with, let's just make it 10. We're going to start with 10, and this is 0, because that's this subnet. Class C subnet, perfect, perfect. We don't have a trivial file transfer protocol server, and we don't have a wireless local controller as well. So add, everything looks right? Yeah, add. All right. So we got that. We got the actual server. Looks like we got everything configured up here. Now I'm gonna do something real quick just to show you that it doesn't work for this subnet unless you put one more configuration on this router, which is the relay option. But they can show you on the local, it'll work. Bam, 192.168.3.50. That's exactly what we configured our local to be. If you go back and you look at the local, .50 is where you start. And then let's do it for this one. It should be 51. Bam. Perfect. All right, now when we go over here, DHCP, it shouldn't be right. It should be coming back with 169. Yeah, 169.255.x.x. These two are variable. We can even try it here, but it's going to be 169.254 or 255 or something like that. Dot something. 169.254. Something. Yeah. All right, so in order to get this functioning, we have to get on this router, okay? We have to go into this subnet's interface, which is gigabit 0.0 for this router. So interface gigabit 0.0, and then we have to put in the IP DHCP relay configuration. So you're gonna do IP question mark, and then what does this say? Specify a destination address for UDP broadcast. We talked about this in the DHCP concepts or DHCP theory video that I put out. And it'll tell you why exactly. Whenever you put up the question mark, if you kind of get lost and you forget what the command is, you can just look at specify a destination address for UDP broadcast. And that should be your clue that, oh, it's going to be helper address. So you type in helper address. And by the way, my other DHCP video, it goes through everything that's within the CCNA chapter for DHCP, so you won't miss a thing. And now what we want to do is we want to put the address, not of the subnet, not of the router interface, but of the DHCP server, which is 192.168.3.3. Enter, exit, exit. All right, that's configured. And why do we do 192.168.3.3? I talked about this in the video as well, just real quick. It's basically saying to the router, hey, accept the DHCP broadcast because it's the UDP broadcast range, and you're going to take that and you're going to swing that over to this router. You're going to swing it over to the router. Why? Because if you do show IP route, bam, the 3.0 network has been learned through OSPF. And so it's going to hand it over to this router because it knows this router is connected or knows where to throw the 192.168.3.0 network. And this is in the 3.0 network. All right. And so it's going to throw it to this router. This router is going to see it, and it's directly connected to it, so it knows exactly where it goes. So it's just going to ship it down over here, and then it's going to come right back over to these. Now, let's see if these work now. Perfect. 192.168.0.12. 0.10. So this already fixed itself. When we went over here, it probably fixed itself like half a second before we actually put on that one. That's why this got .10 and that one got .12. Should be service. Let's see if that actually worked right. Okay, so yeah, our starting IP addresses were supposed to be .10. So this one was the first one to receive an address starting at .10. And then it just goes up from there. Notice how this one has .12. I don't know what happened. It may have glitched out. It should be .11, but it doesn't matter. It's .12. Anything, as long as it's higher than .10, we're good. And so that is DHCP relay, and that is DHCP relay with a server, and that is DHCP with just a server on the local subnet. I know the last video was on a router. This time I showed you how to do it with a server. And if you guys use these basic configurations, you're able to make a huge network with, I don't know, like thousands, if you wanted to, of subnets, which I don't think anybody wants to configure that. But you can make it with like, I think I did it with 7 subnets before, just to kind of show what kind of network information I know. And you'll be able to link it all with the DHCP relay configuration feature, as well as the DHCP server. And you'll show how it goes throughout all your networks, and it's really pretty cool. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope this helps.